you know, a proper handbrake, sequential gearbox.
Awesome.
They have everything kitted out, but you can see some players still driving with controller. But like you said, it's a little bit more difficult to finesse a rear-wheel drive car with your finger than your right foot. So
yeah, on a controller, I say I've struggled with them, but I'm going to get some tips off John, maybe some settings, some secret settings. And now, again, these guys, in terms of settings, I'm not sure quite what they're allowed to do. They're allowed assists, weren't they, I think, during the qualifying stages, but the further into the competition we get, the less they're allowed to do with those kind of setups.
yeah, that's it. Obviously, you can tune the car, but in some stages we're restricting that, so they're all completely equal. But there is a multitude of different things that you can tune in the car. You know, suspension, differentials, brakes, a whole lot of stuff. So it's mega.
And we're on brilliant stages as well. So New Zealand is one of my favourite locations of the game. Of course, if you haven't got Dirt Rally 2.0, I don't really know where you've been. It's an absolute, you should go and get it immediately. It's from Codemasters, the brilliant people behind, of course, the F1 2020 that's out at the minute. You might have seen some esports from that earlier on this year. Dirt 5 comes out later on this year. There are two different sectors of the game now. So you've got the Dirt Rally, which is kind of your hardcore sim games, and then we've got the Dirt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're up to 4 and 5 in recent years. So Dirt 5 coming out, I think, in November this year. So you definitely need to go and get yourself Dirt Rally 2.0 if you haven't got it already. John, the New Zealand stage is quite easy to get caught out on. It's the low banks on the side of the road which catch me out if I'm really committed. I play these stages a lot. I really love them. I like the low speed stuff through here, transitioning a car, particularly like the Group A cars, but it's easy to get caught out.
Yeah, 100%. I think New Zealand's probably my favourite location in the game as well. You can get such a nice rhythm and flow through the stage. But like you said, there's certain aspects that can catch you out. You've got those big banks at the side of the road. You've got some sort of bridge and with drains on the outside. It's quite easy to fall off the road and into those as well. But these guys, they'll have practiced the stages, you know, maybe 8 hours a day. So they know every inch, they know every braking point. So the only real reason we might see some crashes is just someone's risking it that bit extra. But yeah, fantastic stages, and there's a little bit of everything. You've got technical areas, and then it opens out, and it's, you know, 5th gear, 6th gear, flat out stuff then.
Fantastic. Right, we're just about ready to go, I think, with our first platform. We're Xbox, first of all. I think after Xbox, we're going to be moving on. Let me see. It's Xbox followed by PS4, then on to PC. Say there's the drivers at this point we're looking to knock down to the top 2 going through to the semi-finals. So we're in stage already with the Xbox stage 1. And I say this is one that I actually had to go on last night using the Peugeot 208 R2. I thought I'd better have a quick go and see if I could figure out just exactly how quick I was through here. And it's a case of being tidy, I think, John.
Yeah, it's all about being neat and tidy, especially with a front-wheel drive car. You never really want to over-rotate the rear. You always want the rear wheels to sort of follow the front wheels and just get that grip and car out around the corner.
Coming through this section now down towards this is a left which it says you can cut in that left. I've been caught out cutting that corner so many times, not so much in an R2 car, but particularly in Group A or R5 cars. That's one of the bridges which you're talking about, John, which you can drop off the edge. And this is the section which often catches me out. For me, it's not the high banks, it's this kind of half high bank that's along the side of the road. If you've got the tiniest bit of lock on, you clip it, you're off instantly. Either a puncture or pulls the car around.
Yeah, 100%, and those banks are pretty solid as well, and if you hit it, you know, you're going to cause damage to the car. But sometimes, you know, a little nudge with the rear is not a bad thing.
We're on at the board at the minute with Paolo FRFG. That's Paul Begin, Frenchman. Sectors down the left-hand side of your screen. You can see just everybody is so close together that we can't separate them at all. I have to say, last year, I would say the closest fights were on PC in terms of pace. We had a few people who got through who, once they made it to the quarterfinal stages, maybe didn't quite have the pace of the others. But, John, this is looking exceptionally close. Yeah,
it's close so far. It's you know, quite a technical start to the stage, so everyone's sort of bunched up. It's starting to open out a little bit more now, and it's more high speed, so it's a place where you can make a bit more time, a few more tenths.
Is that, you think the commitment comes in the high speed areas more than the low speed?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's more time to be made in the high speed stuff, and you know, it's all about having the confidence to pitch the car in, have that little bit of initial slide, and then get on throttle nice and early.
See, I recognise this bit from last night. That's the 3 left uphill, don't cut, isn't it? And I made the mistake of cutting. That's a rock.
Huge rock.
Yeah. And then into a 2 right, and the fence is in on the outside again. So you can run down the fence a little bit. If you hit it too hard, you can go through it. That's if you're not familiar. I'm sure most of you guys watching at home are familiar with playing. But what we're not allowing here, and what we've got judicial for, is if anybody is doing what we're calling wall riding.
Yeah, we want to obviously prevent that as much as we can, but it is quite difficult, especially with the fence. If you hit that with enough force, it's going to break, it's going to stop you in your tracks. So yeah, don't think we have to worry about that too much. But that was an absolute flat-out section there,
yeah,
top of fifth gear for like 2 kilometres.
It's super committed. The last right-hander and left as well is slightly tighter than flat out. And we're on board with Jared Pesh, or we were on board with Jared Pesh, who actually took part earlier on this year in some of the esports invitationals on the rallycross side. Jared at the moment leading according to the leaderboard top right of your screen. You can see there the positions are changing pretty quickly between P3, 2, 3 and 4. I wonder if we've lost a player looking at the screen on the right-hand side, but we'll see when we get to the end of this one. Not far to go now. Uphill section, you find yourself here hanging on the gears a bit longer.
Yeah, you're going to rev each gear out as much as you can to get the car to just go up this hill. It is steep, it's steeper than it looks here and what we can see. But yeah, the guys are just coming to the stage finish here now. It looks like Jared's got this one in the bag, I think. Yeah,
definitely. So Jared, on the left-hand side, they're just slightly more spread out. He's got literally, that's the stage end warning boards. He's going to cross the stage finish now. So it's Jared Pesh who takes the first one. That sets off the 60-second timer. And you can see everybody coming through. Now we've got the top 4. So the top 5 drivers look separated by, 3:41.0 was Jared's time for the win. And down in P6, a 3:48.1. So only 7 seconds separating the drivers. And the way this works is it's a cumulative time across the 3 stages. So they've completed their time in the R2 Peugeot 208, and they're going to be moving on to the Group A Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 next. So, yeah, on to Lancer Evo 6 on a different stage. I think all 3 stages are in New Zealand, and then they're finishing off in the Cossack-coloured Mark II Escort, which I think was it Roger?
Albert Clark.
Yes, yeah. Fantastic car, proper car that is, yeah. So Roger Clark, it was his co-driver Tony who used to join me on the commentary at Goodwood, and said that the Cossack was a hairspray. I don't think you can buy Cossack hairspray anymore, and I'm not really a hairspray man myself, John.
I'm prone to using hairspray, but I don't use that brand. I don't think it's around anymore.
I don't think it is. So, yes, we're going to see the Cossack coloured Mark II. It's a very famous liveried car, say, for the last run of this. But Evo 6 in the meantime, which is Tommy Mackinnon. So that's coming up next. We've actually got an Evo 6 here, look. Very nice.
Another one here.
Evo 6, marvellous. You got one over your side?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
That's a Safari one.
A Safari spec over his side of the desk. Who set the desks up? John's got the nice. Actually, no. I don't know. What have you got? Metro 6R4.
A Cosy Ford Escort.
Yeah. Okay, that's not so bad. Yeah, he's also got a 206 WRC down there, which I'm slightly jealous. So I have a Renault 5 Maxi over this side, and a Duval actually in the Citroen Zara. Not quite so successful as Sebastian Loeb was in the same car there. And I do have this as well, Delta Integrale.
It's a road car though. It's not full rally spec.
So he's right. He's right. It's even got tiltable seats in my side of the car. So yeah, I've got a decent side of the desk. But yeah, I think John might be killing it on that. Maybe we'll swap seats in between times. Hope you're enjoying the set. We did ask if we could bring half a ton of gravel in to make it proper rally, and they have threatened if we're not very good to throw a bucket of mud over us. So you never know that. You stay with us. More to come. Good performance from everybody on the first one. No big mistakes. The problem at this stage is 7 seconds back doesn't sound like a lot. Obviously, cumulatively over the 3 stages, you're going to have to, I suppose maybe that's someone who doesn't like front-wheel drive, but you can't risk a puncture either. You get a puncture, and for me, you're out immediately. You're never going to make that time back up. Yeah,
100%. If you get a puncture, that's time that you're probably not going to make back. But yeah, that was a really good first stage. There was no major mistakes that we could see from the guys. Like you said, 7 seconds back, that could have been just a small mistake, and that's a couple of seconds lost. But yeah, really good first stage for Jared. We'll see now if he's as good in four-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, and if he can carry it through.
Have you got a preference in game? I mean, you must play it a lot across the different categories.
I really like four-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
If I was going to choose, probably four-wheel drive. But rear-wheel drive is just fun. You get your heavy right foot, slide the rear around.
If I've got mates around, I normally go with an R2. So if I have a good friend Drew who I play this with a lot, and if he comes around, then we get the R2s out, and it's full commitment then. But then we're listening to the notes, and we start to get cocky with the other guy sitting there. I'm like, I'm going to take this flat when you know it's a 4, and you're like, but you try because they're momentum cars, aren't they? Very much. In some ways, you can get yourself out of trouble more with a four-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive than you can the fronts. If you want to, for me, you might say Jared's risked it more than the others there by carrying more corner speed.
Yeah, 100%, especially with the 208. It's a naturally aspirated R2 as well. There's ones with turbos now, which It means you don't have to be on the throttle as much and keep the revs up to keep the car going forward. But yeah, R2 front wheel drive, very much so. You want to carry as much speed as you can, a little bit of left foot braking, but try to keep on the throttle as much as you can.
All right, so coming up next, we've got the Group A Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6, another stage in New Zealand. Group A cars among my favourites within the game. I have to be honest and say that I mostly play with McRae's Impreza. But in game, I reckon the Lancia is the quicker of the Group A cars. I've tried the Delta Integrale, and I can't do the times in the Subaru that I can in the Lancia. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it. We try to balance all the cars to be as equal as they can. But obviously, we do get real life data and reference for the cars. So that, you know, one car might be suited better to certain conditions than others, just because we've set it up how it should be in real life. You know, the layout, the wheelbase, everything. The amount of horsepower it has, all these little things make difference to how it performs in the game.
Yeah, and you do see that a little bit in Rallycross, definitely. I noticed today the car selections, which you'll see later on today, are interesting in Rallycross. We were seeing a certain car used a lot during the World RX Esports Series earlier on this year, and it's a different car this time round, so I'm guessing it's more suited to the circuits that they're at today. So yeah, you can join us for the World RX Esports portion of today at 6 p.m. at local time, so about 2.5 hours from now. Apologies for the delay with the Group A Lancer. We're just gathering enough of them up, basically. You don't see many Group A Lancers left, do we?
No, they're probably fairly rare and probably in a museum somewhere at this point. Yeah.
There are horror stories you hear sometimes of factory teams taking away beautiful rally cars and having them disposed of because they won't allow them to go into the hands of privateers. I don't know what Mitsubishi's stance on that was, but it just devastates me, the thought of. I mean, I don't mind a car being in a museum, but I kind of like it when you see them out and about as well. Things like Rio Rally Retro and Race Retro Show, heading up and seeing them on the stage there. You see them down at Goodwood as well. You want to see them used in anger as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, they're worth a lot of money and very valuable pieces of kit nowadays. Yeah. It brings me back to an event I was at last year, and there was all sorts of Group B cars there, and this guy in his RS200. He got a little bit too eager and managed to plow it into the tyre wall.
No.
He done quite a bit of damage as well. And at that point, you have to wonder why you risk it. But at the same time, you said you want to see it out there.
We want to see it out there. Well, we're going to see some Group A cars out there now. These ones, luckily, we've got plenty of spares for these. So we've got the Group A Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6s, which should be on stage any second now. There they are on the start line. Dusk. Jared at the top of your leaderboard on the right-hand side is our current leader after the run in the R2 car, and we're in damp conditions here as well, so it's raining slightly. I would say this is heavy rain. We've not got stage degradation on either, John, and it may be best if you explain what that is.
Yeah, so the surface degradation is basically how the road ruts up and deforms as each car passes through. Now that these guys are playing in a lobby together, they will have the exact same conditions for each one of them, so it's completely fair. But if you play in other game modes, you know, the stage might be really, really smooth the first pass through, and then it gets more and more rutted as the sort of start order goes down. But yeah, this stage is looking really smooth. The main challenge is the conditions. I think we've got a little bit of light rain. That was a close one.
That's a don't cut as well, yeah. I know, and you'll know that because, John, you write the notes for the game.
Yeah, myself and Phil Mills, we done the pace notes for the game, and basically we delivered a video of the stages to Phil Mills, and he would do the high-level pass of the calls, and then we would sort of go through them together, make sure we're happy with everything, and then we basically stick him in a motion platform and chuck him around for a couple of hours while he reads them. And that's how we get such authentic sounding pace.
So he's being thrown around on a motion rig with a proper sort of headset on, as you'd see intercom style, so that we get full realism.
Yeah, so Phil comes in with his helmet. We link that up to an intercom system. We take the audio from the intercom.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. The detail that goes into this, unreal. So these are kind of my favoured sections. This is where I find myself making up the most time against AI or other players, really. I like the slow stuff where you're really having to transition the car, but one thing I've noticed, particularly about this section of corners, is there are a lot of deceptive ones where you think it's a corner that it's not. Are you saying these guys would learn the stage? Even with the notes, sometimes you look at it, you think, okay, you said it's a 3 left, and then actually, you know, it's a bit tighter or a bit more open. You think the pace notes are very, very good, but you can get sucked into making a mistake because you think you're familiar with the corner.
Well, that's it. These guys are running the stages as much as they can to practice, and some corners do look very familiar, and that's when you can make the mistake thinking it's a corner and you're at a certain part of the track, but you're not actually there. But yeah, we're sort of getting out into a bit of a faster section now, out of the trees.
Yeah, we're with Carlos Vanco now on the right-hand side of your screen between P4 and P5. That's Ivan Garduno, Mexican driver. That's what we were saying earlier on today about being from all different time zones. Using the trackside cameras here to track our cars through the stages. Big cut on the inside. John, you'd have to know about that, you know what I mean, in terms of playing the stage a lot of times. I'm guessing, you know, so when I'm doing a stage, I joke, my run yesterday in the R2 was okay, and it was still only good enough for 2,500 on the leaderboard. You've got to do a lot of runs to learn where those cuts are. Yeah,
if you imagine we've got a 2-pass recce in real life, where these guys could do 100 passes in a day if they want, and
slowly too. That's never occurred to me, really. You don't have to go through the stage flat out. I guess they can just keep driving it slow and just find out where the cuts are.
Yeah, they can find out where they can sort of shave the inside of the corner a bit, make sure there's no rocks there, make sure that it doesn't kick the car into the air. And once they're familiar with where they can place the car, and they're happy that it's a quicker way to take the corner, then all they have to do is just link it all together.
Go and have a crack, but it's linking it all together, isn't it? These, the skill. Kicked in Yo, I know we've had in before. Robin Sieren from Germany has made it into the final stages. I think it was at the Dirt 4 World Championship. Recognise some of the usernames. Hooking a wheel off the inside line. I mean, I love these roads. In real life, yeah, some of my favourite memories of watching rallying on the telly. I've never made it out to New Zealand for a rally, but watching the likes of McRae and Mackin and flinging a car across the radius of the road, there's a real skill to it. If you're not within the radius, it's a big shunt.
Yeah, that's it. You've got the sort of camber of the road. You need to follow that. Once you fall off the camber and go to the outside of that on a corner, that's when you get into trouble and fall off the stage.
Junction 90 left there as we're approaching the end of the stage. Jared Pesh leading again. Jared with a 7-second lead after the first stage. Australian, I'm assuming, playing from Australia at the moment. We did have a few drivers who threw us a bit of a curveball earlier on this year. Cutting the left-handed junction again, coming up now towards the end of the stage. Paolo FRFG just behind Paul Beggin from France. And Rome Craigo. That's Carl Renoja, the Estonian driver. Over the line, Jared takes it. Super close for P2, it looked like. And again, look how close, even closer this time round. There's only 6 seconds separating the drivers, so a 4:44.8. Jared Pesh, I say 7 seconds. It wasn't a 7-second lead, because it was 7 seconds across the top 6. So thinking about it, he probably only had a couple of seconds. And now he's taken on this one. That's pretty significant. I'm trying to have 2.7 seconds off Paolo FRG. So Jared, 2.7 seconds quicker on that one. But the driver separated there by 4.5 seconds, I think it was. 7 on the first one. But Jared maybe with a slightly bigger margin than he had overall on the first stage. So we will have the cumulative times for you at the end to let you know. But John, this is close.
Yeah, it's very close. And, you know, one mistake and that lead's completely gone. And he'll have to fight as hard as he can to get it back again. So, yeah, he just needs to keep a consistent run through the next stage and the final one today for him.
It could be tricky because the next one is, of course, with the Mark II Escort. So we're going rear-wheel drive. We're going full send, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody getting on the lock stop. So these are about driving the car on the throttle, holding onto it and get as sideways as you can. As sideways as you can for the photos, not necessarily for the time, John. It's an easy car to go sideways in a Mark II Escort, like really easy. I'm lucky enough to spend some time in rally schools, also on a frozen lake where there's nothing to hit. So when I ran out of talent, it didn't matter. But to edge the last few tenths out, then what's the trick in game to get the best times out of these cars?
With rear-wheel drive cars, basically you don't want to over rotate, which is getting too sideways, because that's when you're scrubbing off the speed. So you need to balance the car around the longer corners with your throttle input, your right foot, just to keep it on like a nice balanced slide. And then once you're out of the corner, just put your foot flat down. But it's all about throttle control at the end of the day with the rear-wheel drive.
So controlling the car on the throttle, and then once you're on the exit, nailing it and finding the traction, getting the car straight.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. So that gives us a good idea of what we can expect. They're still in New Zealand. Don't know what the weather conditions are going to be for this one. This is the last stage for the rally guys. We're on Xbox, first of all. And so the top 2 of these will go through, remember, and we've got more there's 3 sets of quarterfinals, so the top 2 from each platform will go through on the rally side from each quarterfinal. For the rally cross, it's a little bit different. So we've got 2 from the first 2 quarterfinals and just 1 from the third quarterfinal before we get onto the semis. As I say, so the semis, that's the point at which the pressure's really on for these guys to book themselves a spot in the final at the Autosport Show. And that was a cracking event this year. Lucky to get that one away, of course, earlier on this year. One of the few events I've managed to actually be at this year, other than World Rallycross. We've got that going again since COVID. Been a tough year for everyone, but looking forward to being at the Autosport Show again next year.
Yeah, it'll be fabulous to go back there and see the guys racing live again in front of a big audience. And of course, that's a different challenge for them because they're all probably playing, you know, from the comfort of their own homes, maybe in their bedrooms. And, you know, you've got no one looking over your shoulder and watching everything that you do. So it's a different type of pressure. And whenever I managed to win the esports championship that I won, which was at a live venue, it was so difficult because you're just used to being on your own. But then I think it was better for me because I was used to more of a high-pressured live environment than the other guys I was against. So
why? Because of your rally background?
Yeah.
In terms of actual competing in real life?
Yeah, just doing, you know, even doing more media stuff, you know, just having more pressure on you when you're trying to perform.
It's cameras and stuff, isn't it? You know, when you're first there doing it, someone sticks a camera over the top of the screen directly in your face. That is a huge distraction compared to playing in your own room. Yeah,
I remember the finals. There was a guy sort of walking around with a camera, but it had a massive, like these lights, a massive light on it.
Yeah.
And he just went in front of the simulator and pointed it straight at me whenever I was driving. And it's things like that you don't realize are going to happen. And when it does, it's how you react to it and how you just readjust and get on with the job in hand, which is going as fast as you can.
Well, these guys have been going as fast as they can now, and that's a good example of what it looked like when John had the camera pointed in his face. Low sun on the horizon as we finish off with the Mark II Escort. Dry conditions in New Zealand. Let's have a little listen. Not too sideways for the first couple. This is a stage I'm actually really familiar with because I was trying to set a great time in the Peugeot 306 Maxi here. I have gone top 200 a couple of times in that car because I do love a 306 Maxi. There's one of the bridges which I always suck at. Just end up just a little bit too quick in and drop a wheel off the back. I think this is a tight right-hander at the top of the hill, if I remember correctly. It is, yes, I've played this one a lot, John.
So you could be an esports champion now.
You're
starting to remember the stages. Well, yeah, this is a really, really nice stage. A bit more technical than the ones that they've done previously to this, the first 2. We're just climbing up a hill now, which comes under the trees. And then we come into a really technical section, which is first, second gear corners for a while.
The entrance to that's mega committed, but then it comes down, doesn't it? So you're coming in to the dark from the light over that bridge, and it's kind of 4th gear, and you could thread the eye of the needle, but you're right, there's a couple of very tight calls. This is the first of them. And then you've got to string this together.
Yeah, it's basically lots of hairpins right now. You get a bit of a burst like this here, but it's never a straight road. It's a bit like Corsica and gravel. You know, you've always got these turns. There's no straights at all.
This is a look at Jared Pesh, who's hanging it all out. Jared took about 2.7 seconds off the other drivers on the previous stage. And we know he won the first stage as well, although it was 7 seconds spread across the top 6 drivers. On board now with Pesh from, again, the dark into the light. It's tricky, I think, when the sun is low. I used to cheat on the games when it was night stage. I used to turn the brightness up on the old Colin McRae Rally 1 and 2 to try and see the stages better. I'm sure that works a little bit now, but not quite so well. But the graphics are absolutely stunning. Downhill now, again, another section to the right. Hairpin left at the bottom of this pit, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just coming up to hairpin left.
Yeah, you see that. When you know, you know.
Yeah, but Jared's out in front again, showing great pace.
It's super close, left-hand side of the screen. If Jared comes in the lead of this one, doesn't matter what it's by, we know he's booked a spot in the semi-finals. Whoever is second, I have absolutely no idea. I must be honest, we've not kept we can't add up the times. And look at the lead Jared's got as well. Left-hand side of your screen now. It looks to me like he's really edged himself a gap here of a few tenths, John.
Yeah, he's really, really pushing on. You can just tell how much commitment he's got. He's just carrying so much speed. Even though this is a rear-wheel drive car, he's going around some of these corners like he's in a Ford drive. He's crazy the speed he's going.
Yeah, absolutely lit. We're following Rome Crago again. Carl Renoja, Estonian. got a lot of, actually we've got a good mix of nationalities in the rally side. Quite a lot of French drivers in the rally cross side. All eager to match up to Kylian Delolmo and his brother Quinton Delolmo, who've been dominating that side of the sport, certainly from the World RX Esports earlier on this year. But Una P is the man to beat in the rally side. Una Pankinen, Finnish driver, will be competing on Steam, so that's our final session on the rally side. Una P's been an absolute weapon, winning both Dirt 4 and Dirt Rally 2.0. There was a lot of emotion when he won the Dirt Rally series, because he hasn't had the chance to practice, because Una P has been doing his Finnish national service. And John, they will be putting in many hours, won't they?
Yeah, I remember whenever I went to the esports finals for stuff I've done, and I was practicing as much as I could. I was doing, you know, 2 or 3 hours in the morning, a bit on my lunch break, and then the whole evening before this was in the lead up to the live event, just doing as much as I could. So about 8 hours a day, I think these guys would be doing.
It's mad. It's proper. It's you know, it's in comparison to the amount of hours that you see Olympic athletes putting in. They really are very good indeed. Kicked in Yo, we ride with at the moment. Fantastic shot through the trees. Looks autumnal. Look very nice. Bang on the British weather. It's a bit cold here now. So on board with Kicked in Yo. Up into P2 as well. So Jared has taken the stage. Is Kicked in Yo going to manage to hold on for P2? Crossing over the line, taking out the Finnish markers there. Bit more of a spread between the drivers in rear-wheel drive, it looks like, waiting for the final one to cross the line. And it is indeed Jared Pesh who wins the stage by 6 seconds. Outstanding performance from Jared. Definitely going to go through as has won all 3 stages: front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive. Then Carlos Vanco, Kicked in Yo, Rome Crago, ASR Cristo 1, and Paolo FRFG are the top 6 here. Look at the difference in time, though. 13 seconds from P1 to P6. We only saw 7 seconds across the drivers on the first stage, and only something like 4.5 seconds on the third stage. So there is a man somewhere in the building frantically adding up the times as we speak, and he's gonna send us some sort of amazing graphic in a minute, which will let us know. But brilliant performance by Jared, and I think it's safe to say an all-rounder. And for me, looking at the car selection this year, you're going to need to be an all-rounder, because I reckon we're going to be chucking in mixed cars again, hopefully for semi-finals and finals.
Definitely. I think the bigger gap on that last stage shows how hard it is to drive rear-wheel drives. You know, you can make little mistakes all the time just by over-rotating or almost having a half spin. It just adds up the time a bit more, and Jared was the cleanest and smoothest through it.
But sideways as well, which was something I like to see. I'll say the first on board we went on board with was very tidy, not too loose on the exit of the corner, whereas I want, you know, in a real drive car, I want to see it get sendy, John. You know, yeah. I can't be doing with the tidy lobe style. It needs to be banned. We need to take away anything with all the modern suspension and brakes and all the, you know, I want to see, I like physical driving, and that's one of the great things about seeing the Group A car on the rear-wheel drive car. Yeah,
they're proper historic rally cars, and that's the way they were driven back then. Yeah. Is sideways and
scruff of the neck,
getting flies on the side windows.
Yeah, yes, flies on the side windows. I like that. That's very good.
But yeah, it's they're proper hard cars to drive again, and it's all about just being as consistent as you can and carry as much speed as you can as well. And that's why some people are driving a little bit more neat and tidy and just getting out of the corner faster than coming in backwards and then trying to square everything up again and get up the straight.
We see a fair bit of that in rallycross as well. We're going to see some coming in back, because I'm going to put a massive, great big line through there, because I'm done now with Xbox. I'm ready to move on to PS4. We're just waiting to find out who has qualified from Xbox. We should have a couple of drivers' names ready for you any minute now. We just start chucking stuff. Oh, hang on, there's a man leaving the room. Perhaps he's going to get a calculator. I don't know. It may be that close. We could be talking hundreds here, but we're waiting to find out who our top 2 are from Xbox before we move on to the next 2 platforms. Una P's coming up in the last section. Una, but also trying to think who Robin Jonsson is the Swedish driver. I think who was P2. Is it? Who was on PS4. So we've got a couple of our top drivers coming up across the next 2 platforms.
Yeah, and Robin also was the winner of the Salzburg World Cup, which took place recently during lockdown. So yeah, he's a proper quick driver. I think he beat Lucas Mateja to that crown.
And we've got Lucas as well. Where is Lucas? I know. Yeah, we have Lucas. He's coming up on Steam as well. So I think we've got our names for you for our top 2 drivers from Xbox. We have indeed. Jared Pesch takes it. Look, so Jared Pesch by 12.6 seconds ahead of Karl Renoja. And Karl Renoja is our Estonian driver. And you can see that he went through by just 0.6 of a second. And it's Robin Searin who misses out. Kicked in, misses out by 0.6 of a second. That's really hard to take. Ivan Garduno looks 16 seconds back. Christopher Fortunato and Paul Beggin 21 seconds off the pace. But that is a dominant win by Karl. We're making notes here. John's writing down the times, are you, John? I'm hoping you've written down the overall time there of Jared.
Yeah, I have it ready to go.
Yeah, so we're already thinking about how we're going to compare that to the others. So our screen's just above the camera if you're wondering. So, yeah, brilliant performance and consistently quick across the 3 cars. 12 seconds was it? Was the winning margin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then 12, and overall time was 12:47.
Okay, 12:47. That's the target. Now, of course, the different platforms, the game is the same across them, but the performance is slightly different. So the land final, we'll see everybody on the same equipment, but we'll talk to you a little bit about that later. I think we might be ready to go. Are we with PlayStation? We're nearly ready to go. So we're nearly ready to go with the PS4. Drivers in this one, so we have Tiana Ratokanaivo from Amani. We've got Robin Jonsson, who is Swedish. Quinton Dall'Olmo, who's a name you should be familiar with if you've been watching the Rallycross earlier this year. Frenchman Nicolo Ardizone from Italy. We have Kahutu Iwata from Japan. Welcome along. And we have Dorian Martin as well. So that's our top 3 drivers. And then also the 3 drivers with the cumulative quickest stage times over the 3 challenge weeks. So you can't do what I do, which is go in and go fully lit, trying to set a time somewhere near it, throw it off the road. That's just not going to work. You've either got to set the fastest time or consistently be quick across the 3 weeks, and that's what the latter 3 of those drivers have done to put themselves a spot in the quarter-finals. We've got 3 sets of quarter-finals, confusingly, so it's kind of a triplet of quarter-finals before semi-finals, and then the final, I say, at the Autosport show, which will be a land final. Everybody will be playing on Steam. They'll be using the same steering wheels, the same pedals, same screens, same rigs and everything, so that makes sure that it's completely fair. We are ready to go with PlayStation 4, so PS4 action now, Dirt Rally 2.0 available across all 3 of the platforms of Xbox, PS4 and Steam. Back to the Peugeot 208 R2. So we're riding on board with riding on board with our Japanese friend. Fantastic. Good to have a qualifier. Kazuho Iwata from Japan. Flicking it into the 2 left at the bottom of the hill. You've then got a section here which is sort of 3s and 2s before it opens up, and then a tricky 6 left which tightens into a 2 at the first junction. Looks quick through here to me, running P3, P4 at the moment. This is the section, John, which is a 6 left tightening to 2.
Yeah, it's proper tricky there because you've got that high bank that you talked about on the inside. And if you clip that, it's going to chuck you off in the trees on the outside. And
the bottom, and there we go. Clipping the bank.
Mistake.
Oh, big mistake. Off the road.
It's a big one.
Down the bank. Keeps it absolutely buried. Going to try and pop out through the trees, and that's a disaster. Nudges the tree. We're alive on board there, and that's pretty much game over, I'm afraid, for Dorian Martin, the French driver who we were on board with. You should see drop off the back of the pack at the minute. Not showing quite that. Yeah, we're only seeing top 5 at the moment. We're on board with our leader at the minute, SDL Quinto. So SDL Quinto is a name you should all be familiar with. Quinton Dall'Olmo, if you've been watching World RX's Esports Invitationals earlier this year. Quinton and his brother Killian. There's a 3rd Dall'Olmo as well. As if 2 of them weren't enough of a threat, we've got a 3rd Dall'Olmo later on today on the Rallycross side as well. I can't remember, 2 of them have made it through, haven't they, to the Rallycross? Is it Quinton who hasn't made the Rallycross?
I think all 3 have made it through to the Rallycross, and only 1, which is...
Only 1, only Quinton's made it. So Killian, I'm trying to find out the 3rd brother's name, Lucas. So Killian Lucas Dall'Olmo. Killian was messaging us earlier. They're all similar in age. They've all competed in real life in cross kart over in France. Running along the fence down the outside line here, fully committed. How much of a distraction is it, John, when you can see the progress bar left-hand side of the screen? If I remember correctly on the land final, some of the drivers were turning it off because they don't want to know the splits, because you don't want to know if you're ahead or not. You just got, and that's kind of more like real rally, isn't it?
100%. In real rally, we don't have any idea of how we're doing in the stage. We don't have any split times. But when you can have it in game, it's quite a nice thing to have, but also distracting, like you said. The key is to keep it in the corner of your eye, but don't let it influence your driving. Because if you look at it and you see a green or a red split, it can sometimes make you go a little bit too fast or a little bit too cautious. But I know personally I do like to know how I'm doing, just so I can sort of manage my driving as I go.
I do if I'm aiming for a timer. I spend most of my time in the game, if I'm honest, in time trial mode. So I go pick a car, pick a stage, and then I smash that stage as many times as I can. Not necessarily to learn, and I suppose there is an element of learning the stage. I like to see how perfect I can get it and how far off the pace I still am.
So is your restart button worn out?
Oh mate, massively, yeah. Restart, and it's the second option down, isn't it? Yeah, hit options, down one, restart, and yeah, back to the stage. And I get annoyed after wait 5 seconds to go again, you know, with the
countdown.
Yeah, hold handbrake and launch, you just want to go again. And then there does come a point where I'm like, okay, I'll give up now. Usually, if I've had a couple of beers, there's a window, you know, at the start of the evening where I'm going to do it, and then, to be honest, I reach a point where it's definitely not going to happen. Screaming it up the hill now. We're on board with Eric 1770. That's Tiana Ratekanaivo from Omani. Really hope I'm saying your name right. And if you make it through the semi-finals, I promise I'll send a message and we'll get a voice recording of exactly how to say it. Great to see such a spread of nationalities coming up to the finish line. Indeed, it was. So it was our Omani driver, Tiana Ratekanaivo, who has taken the lead, 3:39.8. But look at that, just 0.4 of a second ahead of Zombie Slayer, who's another player, Robin Johnson, who you should be very familiar with. Robin was P2, I think, in the Dirt Rally 2.0 World Championships earlier on this year. P3 is QLS Nicardi. That is Niccolo Ardizone from Italy. Looking down the times, though, have a look at how close that is. There was less than 3 seconds from P1 to P5. So this is absolutely all to play for, except, unfortunately, for our French friend, who we were live on board with as he went off the road. Interesting to see whether or not he'll come back in, because a retirement there, unless there was terminal damage on the car, again, maybe risked it for a biscuit later on in the stage. But a retirement, it's game over, isn't it? Then it's whether or not you play for honour or whether you're livid.
Yeah, that's it. You just carry on for the sake of it and see can you win a couple of stages. But with that nominal time now, with the stage missed, it's going to be pretty impossible to win now from that point. Yeah,
well, yeah, unless everybody else throws it off the road, you're done, really, aren't you? So yeah, it's a shame to have lost a drive. That's Dorian Martin with the off, unfortunately, on that first stage. So a bit of a shame for Dorian that we're going to lose him. Certainly going to lose him from the semi-final stage, because unfortunately, as John said, an off there, particularly like that. Kept it lit. I did like the way he kept it lit. That's what I do, to be honest, when I go off the road, which is numerous times. Not in real life. Once or twice in real life. Being completely honest, there are no deer. There are deer in this game, aren't there?
Yeah, there's some things that can pop out and scare you.
What's it called? Unexpected moments.
Yeah, that's the one.
Drone. There's the deer. I've had a deer in real life in terms of an unexpected moment, which was costly. That was in a rally car as well. So we've discussed most of these things before there, to be honest. Like if you're familiar with this, I'm afraid you'll have heard my stories. Luckily, with John with us, we've got some new stories about going through fields and things, haven't we, John, over the years?
Yeah, I mean, you do have these moments where you make a little mistake and you go off, but I think the best one maybe was Rally Germany in 2017. Basically came into what would be like a two right, too fast, went through a fence into a field. The car went in backwards and it never stopped moving. I put the clutch in and it spun a full 360 and out the other side again, back onto the road. So it was a good moment. But I've had a few like that. You either get away with it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. You point at the biggest gap you can. All right, are we ready to go on stage for the PS4 guys? We're waiting for one player, apparently, who is frantically changing settings because it's raining. And I think the weather will be the same as it was for the Xbox. PS4 waiting on the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 for a wet stage in New Zealand, if it was the same as it was last time. If it isn't, that means we can't compare times across platforms, and me and John are going to be very cross because we wanted to see how quick everyone was.
Yeah, talking about times over platforms, Jared on Xbox done a 3:41 on the first stage.
Yeah.
And the fastest that time was a 3:39, I think.
Okay, so
and the top four were quicker.
And
we're all quicker.
In terms of times across the platforms, it does vary a bit, doesn't it? Which is why we don't do cross-platform play.
It can vary a little bit, that's for sure. You know, each platform is different and has slightly different systems, but generally it shouldn't be a big difference.
So a good indicator then of the times. Super quick from Tiana Rakotanaivo. We're on board at the start now with another fantastic Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6. They went on to a 6.5, didn't they? Because they didn't do a World Rally Car straight away. Everybody else did a World Rally Car, and they continued with the 6. I'm sure it was with the 6.5. Derek Johnson would tell me off if I didn't know. Derek, of course, now looking after Hooligan Racing Division. Ken Block, but had a huge amount to do with the Mitsubishi Lancers back in the day. Fully committed through there. It's super close. Look, if you look top right, you can see how quickly the leaderboard places are changing. I think it gives you a good indicator of how close this group is. I think closer than the previous batch, to be fair.
Yeah, everyone's neck and neck at the moment, and we're just coming to this corner with the rocks inside, and safely around that one. I think that someone in the first Xbox group clipped that rock a little bit, but managed to get away with it.
The thing is, you always want to back it in there because it's a one left, isn't it? I think one left
Yeah.
don't cut, so you want to be as close as you can to the apex on the inside. I guess we really ought to reference for people at home who don't understand the pace notes, if maybe you're watching for the first time, how do they work? And there are different systems too, but the notes in the game, first of all.
I guess what's been considered the easy way to explain it is that a 6 is the fastest, and then you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then into your hairpins. And roughly each one is like a gear, so a 6 right would be a 6 gear corner, and a 3 right would be a 3 gear corner. But it is about the angle of the corner too.
It depends on the car, doesn't it? Because so angled pace notes you may see if you watch any onboards of people's recce's, which are pretty slow, obviously not the most exciting onboard, but you'll see with tape all around the wheel at different degrees, and that's when people are using the numbers more often than not in the other direction. So they have a 1 which is 10 degrees, a 2 which is 20 degrees, a 3, and there's some people go 1 to 9 up to a 90 and then into the hairpins, which to me was too complicated. I always use 6 fastest, but I wasn't that great in real life. Certainly wasn't as good as you in real life, I'm afraid, mate.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many different types of pace note systems out there, and it doesn't really matter what it says, or as long as the driver understands what it means. And I think, to be honest, a degree and angle system is more consistent.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
there's less chance of crashing than using a speed system.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other problem, of course, is that the notes across the cars are different. Something that's flat in an R5 car is not necessarily going to be flat in a historic car. The rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, it's all different. So they're only getting 2 passes of notes normally in real life to make those. Obviously, John and Phil Mills can do a few more if they want to make everything exactly how they want it. Running up in P2, we were on board a minute ago with Zombie Slayer, which is Robin Johnson, who was second in this championship last year. Absolutely massive cut, close to the palm tree on the left-hand side in 6th gear. One of those places where you can carry a bit of extra F6 speed.
Yeah, but it's actually a really difficult place because you can mess that up quite easily, and you have to risk it to gain a few tenths there, and that's where the best players do make the time, is the risky places.
Yeah, very tidy.
So massive straight now down into what is actually quite a cool little corner, because this one here, this right-hander, it's tight now, but it opens and then tightens again. You see they carry a lot of speed. It just tightens now.
Kept it lit, didn't they, most of the way through the exit, just a slight feather of the throttle, backing it in then to what looked like a junction left. Onto the limits there just for a moment here, a few pops as they reach the top of a gear, and there are times when you just can't take the next gear up. Again, look how much grass using on both the inside and the outside. This is SDL Quinto we're on board with now, Quinto Del Olmo. Winner earlier on this year of a couple of rounds in both World Rex and I think Esports Invitational as well. Beaten in the end by his brother Killian. That must be some competitive household, mustn't it, eh?
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't get more competitive than 2 brothers going up against each other, that's for sure.
And 3 now, then you've got a third one coming into the fray. Down to a 90 left, again, get the car rotated early, don't let it run out too wide, just a nudge on the bank maybe. This is looking like a brilliant performance for Tiana Rakitinaivo again. Flat out on board now with your leader, who won the first stage and is leading this one. Big cut on the left-hand side, coming up towards the finish board now. Is it going to be 2 from 2 for the Omani driver? Big push now towards the line. It is close at the top. Zombie Slayer, Robin Johnson, super close, but it did look like that was taken again by Tiana Rakitinaivo. And it was so. 2 wins from 2, super close again. This time it was just 0.8 of a second from Robin Johnson. P3 is QLS Nicardi. I think it's the same drivers we've seen at the top, Nicolo Artisone. And the time between them, look, is 0.7 of a second. So this is absolutely critically close. Quinton Del Olmo. Then we have our Japanese driver as well. So that's Kazuho Iwata in P5. And down in P6, our Frenchman Dorian Martin, of course, had a bit of a problem on the first stage, going off the road with the Peugeot 208 R2. Unbelievably close, super close. I don't know if you've compared the times from Xbox to PS4 or not on this last stage.
On that stage, I did get the time 3 seconds quicker on
these guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the top five, I think, were all quicker than Xbox.
That's insane how close they are. I'm guessing, I mean, maybe if you live in a household like the Del Olmos do, where they're all into it, somebody might be there adding it up. Because for me, I'd want to know now what the difference is, because this is running as 3 separate events. You're not getting a cumulative leaderboard as you go through to know, right, okay, yeah, what's now, what do you do? Because we've got 4 drivers. Even our leader Tiana is not safe by any means. I think the margin was 7 tenths here and about 4 tenths. Oh, a lead of 1.1. This is not the point at which you're going, I'll take it steady.
No, like you said, it's difficult to know where you are and how far you're off a lead or how much of a lead that you have. So you just have to keep going flat out. I remember whenever I done the esports final, and I will keep piping on about this.
Pipe on about it, mate. We're going to wait for these guys to get ready. You pipe on.
I made a mistake on the second stage out of 3, similar to what these guys are doing, and I didn't know how much I needed to make up. So I finished the last stage, no celebrations, no nothing, and I didn't know I'd actually won the competition until the commentator told me.
Brilliant.
So you just have to go for it.
Yeah. But again, similar in terms of Real Rally. You know, in Real Rally, there was a time. So we've had text messages to cars before. And, you know, I know that kind of thing can still go on. But we also used to have people holding up a board at the side of the road midway through a stage. This is the old days. I don't know if you'll remember them, John, but pre-mobile phones. But literally, you used to have a split board in the middle of the stage. You'll have seen that if you've watched any of the highlights from 95, 96 and stuff. We saw people desperately trying to slow down Colin McRae in Catalonia. That's people standing in the road, waving, trying to get the car slowed down. But yeah, some fantastic stuff in terms of splits. They have a split within the stage, but they're now not so sure of exactly where they lie. So I think we're going to see full commitment on the last one. We've got just the Mark II Escort to come in New Zealand. I think we're nearly ready for it. We're hearing? Getting there. We're getting there.
I think this is going to be the one that's going to decide it, because we've seen those big gaps with the Mark II Escort on the first one. So I think whoever's the best in rear-wheel drive is going to take this now, because we know it's really tight between the top 1, 2 and 3.
Oh, you'd be gutted if you hadn't put the hours in. I suppose the other thing is that you would know, wouldn't you? I don't know which week it was that the rear-wheel drive went through. Do we know if we've done them in the week orders? Is this the week order that they went through from the qualifying? Because if it is, then we might find that Quinton Del Olmo would have been quick in this. I'm not quite sure. Having said that, anybody who's in the overall top 3 as well must have been quick in all 3 cars. So all to play for. Final stage for PlayStation 4, New Zealand in the Mark II Escort. I haven't seen anyone in the Cossack livery after we banged on about it. It was in our little highlights video at the start. Very disappointing not to see them in the old school hairspray machine. Tony Mason saying that there were rumours that it meant you lost your hair. If the brand still exists, apologies, that may not be true. It was a long few days at Goodwood where we had to delve deep into the story bank to keep the commentary going, especially after the party on the Saturday night. So up towards the hairpin, right-handed uphill, second gear, tidy. And again, look at the time board on the right-hand side. You can see that the top 4 or 5 are swapping over, and interestingly enough, it's our French friend who's at the top of the table who lost out on stage 1. So the one driver who potentially isn't in the mix was at the top of this table a moment ago, maybe now P2. But the drivers leading this are swapping every second, every half second. And we know they're separated by a similar amount. Look on the left-hand side of your screen. You cannot separate each of these drivers. I'd love to tell you who we're riding on board with, but it's moving so quickly up and down the leaderboard. It's our Italian friend, Niccolo Ardizoni, who we were still riding on board now with Niccolo Ardizoni up into section in between the grass and the banks on the right, chucking it in, flick it back the other way now. This is a slow one. It flicks back the other way to another 2 right.
This is a hairpin left now. It's got the one of those pendulum. You've got the river flowing in there. You don't want to drop it in there.
I've been in there a few times.
Yeah.
I've done a tight Tanak and ended up in the river. Not a lake, luckily. Are there any lakes to end up in? I mean, I've had an unrecoverable car, but not in a lake in Dirt Rally 2.0. Something we maybe need to address.
There's definitely lakes in Finland, that's for sure. You might have to go and try and drive into it, see what happens.
I was going to say, yeah, you'd have to be a long way off the road to get it into a lake. That's one for those of you who are super committed. And there's a committed line as well. That's one for me to remember. I've always taken that through the corner, and there's a nice cut on the inside. A couple of the corners here in New Zealand, John, where if you do hook it off the inside, the bank is so steep that it really pulls the car in. Yeah,
that's it. You've got, it's almost like a little built-up piece of soil on the inside, and you can go over that, but sometimes, like you said, it can pull the inside wheel and rotate the car more than what you want, and that's really what you're trying to avoid with a rear-wheel drive car. Cossack coloured Escort, finally. We've got one. Yeah, that's where we're at, and it's our man. It's our leader. Oh yes, banging it down the box, get some. Nicely in the rev range there as well. That was decent Mark II Escort sound, isn't it? I mean, I know the audio guys worked really hard on it. Yeah, we've got a guy in Codemasters whose job is to go and record all these beautiful rally cars, and I think, you know, my job's good, but if I had to envy another job, it's his. It's that one, yeah. Gets to fly around all these different places and record these beautiful rally cars. It's a tough gig, isn't it? I mean, maybe if you saw him hanging out on the back end of a Mark II Escort, frantically recording on the, yeah, like we do know he tapes the microphones in. Perhaps we should make his job a little bit harder. Into a wide open hairpin left, downhill into the final sector for these guys. At the moment, it looks like it's Robin Johnson who leads. Zombie Slayer in P2, super close behind Tiana Ratakanivo. We know those two are P1 and P2. SDL Quinto is in the mix as well. This could not be closer for the top two positions. Remember, only the top two go through from this quarter-final to the semis on each of the different platforms. If you don't make it, you can try again in the next 3 weeks to qualify. I'm kind of hoping that whoever doesn't make it out of these does qualify for another quarter-final, because it is so close between them, and that's what we want. We want super close racing in Rallycross and super close stage times here for the rally side. Yes, cut that post. Have some of that. That's definitely a cut through there. SDL Quinto chasing Zombie Slayer. The gaps now seem to have spread out just a little bit more. It's hard to tell exactly what they are. Still swapping though between P2 and P3. Would that maybe be for a place in the semi-final coming round? Robin Johnson takes SDL Quinto. Super close. In fact, did Johnson take it or not? Wait for the board to come up. Couple of seconds left to go. It's Zombie Slayer who takes it from SDL Quinto. And, okay, right. Have a look at that on the right-hand side of your screen. There are 9/10 of a second between the winner and P3. And I'm confident it was those three who were super close in the run into this one. So it is so close. Our French driver is down in P4, and then there's a little bit of a gap back to the Italian and the Japanese driver. But the top three, it's so close. P3, look, only 9/10 of a second off is Tiana Ratakanivo. But Ratakanivo won both the other stages. I really want to see an overall leaderboard now, because someone's going to be so disappointed. I think this is going to be insanely close, John. Yeah, like you said, the first two stages were so close, and another one again. I don't know who's won it. No idea. And if Ratakanivo had made it, our Romani driver had made it and had won that third stage, we'd know, because won both the previous stages. Yeah. But in P3, but only 7/10 back, you'd fancy your chances, but it's so close. Yeah, based on winning two stages, you'd think it's more than a second, so potentially he's... Oh, mate, okay, yeah. So Ratakanivo, apologies if I'm saying your name incorrectly. I promise you I'll learn it for the semi-finals. Great to have an Omani driver right in the thick of it here. Robin Johnson, Swedish driver, was P2 in the overall stands. I tell you what, this says that these guys are world-class. Quinton Delolmo, we already know he's world-class on the rally side, but I'm trying to think if Quinton made the finals last year on the rally side or not. I know that both the brothers were there. One was spotting for the other. But anyway, we know their class, so we don't know which two drivers are going to have made it through from PS4, but that is an outrageously close competition, and that's what it's like, isn't it? Even trying to win a spot in the quarterfinals. Someone has said something in my ear, race controller. They let me know. Have we got a result yet? Not yet. We're adding up. There's adding up. Calculators out. I'd be nervous. Do you think anyone at home? Do you think any of them have? Surely they've got a friend, haven't they, or a mum, or a dad, or a brother who's taken pictures of the. But they're going to be adding up as well. Yeah, they're doing the same process right now. Yeah, panicking like mad. Panicking like a World Rallycross Championship commentator in a final round battle in South Africa. Desperately trying to figure out what the points are when the race is only 4.5 minutes long. Ooh. Yeah, these esports competitions are so close. You
Yeah.
know, in real rallying, it's, you know, maybe you win by 10, 20 seconds. In esports, it's a couple of tenths.
It is insanely close. Over a longer distance, if we ran longer rallies, which would be a long show, a bit more spread out?
Yeah, I would say then it would start to go up into maybe 10 seconds of a win across multiple stages and longer stages.
You ran your own esports competition during lockdown, and I think you took part in some of the other esports competitions that were out there as well. It must have been interesting for you to get stuck back into the sports side of things. Obviously, this has become a job now, where it was a hobby alongside your real life rally competition. Now it's your job as well. How did you find getting back into esports?
Yeah, it's tricky going back because you have to be very disciplined if you want to do well. You have to practice the stages, put in the hours behind the scenes when no one's looking.
Yeah.
To get the results. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it, especially on Dirt Rally 2.0, racing against these guys, seeing if I've got the pace to stick with them. And yeah, and some places I'm better than others.
Yeah.
Some places
Got some stuff to work on.
Yeah, but it's good. I really enjoy it, and it's you have to give them a lot of respect. You know, when they're quicker than you and you're putting in the same amount of effort. It's fabulous what these guys are doing, and fair play to them. They're very, very quick.
Well, talking of fabulous, here's the result. Let's see who's gone through from the PS4. It is Tiana Rakatanaivo has gone through 0.4 of a second ahead of Robin Johnson, last year's runner-up. That could not be closer between them, but it is them who goes through to the semi-finals. Quinton Del Olmo misses out by just 2.3 seconds. Nicolo Ardizon as well, a fantastic performance, 5.6 back. We were seeing gaps like that on Xbox across one stage. It's so close between them. Unfortunately, Dorian Martin at the bottom of your screen there with an off on the first stage and a DNF, otherwise would have been in the mix too. And Kazuho Iwata, our Japanese friend, 13.5 seconds from making it. But remember, everyone outside the top two has more opportunities to qualify via the in-game World Championship menu, which I think will reappear this week for more qualifiers. And then we've got second and third sets of quarterfinals later on in the year before we get through to the semi-finals. Quinton Del Olmo, 2.3 seconds, and 0.4 between the top two. And remember, Robin, I say, was runner-up in the World Championship by about that kind of margin to Una P. So Una P has got some serious competition this year.
Yeah, it's super close between the top two, and Quinto will be focusing now on the rallycross side of things to go through on that and try to get some sort of championship there. But it's so close. It's so hard to call until we actually see that final result screen. We've absolutely no idea who's going to win.
Need to have a reset if you've had the disappointment of missing out by such a tiny margin in rally. How do you reset from that and just get back into rallycross mode? You know, without feeling really. If you'd bagged a place there, it's a bit like winning a title, isn't it? Or winning your first event or your first class. Once you've done it, it's kind of a monkey off your back. If he'd booked a slot there, he'd be super relaxed. Now he's going to be thinking, I don't want to miss out again.
Secretly, I think he probably, you know, is more focused on the rallycross and does the rally just for a bit of fun. So he mightn't be that annoyed, but yeah, he's definitely super quick in rallycross. So maybe that's where his focus is on.
Okay, so Quinton Del Olmo misses out by the tiniest of margins. We are done with Xbox and PS4. We've just got the Steam platform to come. In that, we're going to be seeing as well, of course, Joona Pankkonen. So Joona Pankkonen, who is the current world champion, was the world champion prior to that with Dirt 4. He was the world champion with the Dirt Rally 2.0 on the rally side. We split the two disciplines, of course, once we've got Dirt Rally 2.0 out. So really looking forward to seeing Joona P, the Finnish driver, who was on his Finnish national service and turned up. Pretty sure he had floppy hair the last time I saw him, which would have... Where were the finals for Dirt 4? They were at Silverstone, weren't they, at the World Rallycross Championship round? So there he was, you know, with his mum there with him, with his floppy hair. And when he turned up to the Autosport show, he'd had a buzz cut like me. I'm not, no military service for me. I'm afraid that, you know, I don't think it'd be a bad thing.
It was like going from my hair to yours.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. He was like fully lit, just off, and he turned up with no practice at all and won it by a tiny margin, and was really emotional. So imagine if he won it 3 times in a row. That would be some record in esports.
We did see a mistake from him in that final stage.
Yeah,
and it was super close at the finish. Typical.
Without that, would it have been easy?
It would have been a bigger gap for sure.
Yeah.
Typical Finn, it's win it or bin it style of driving and flat out from the get-go. But we'll see how he goes. We've no idea what his form's like at the minute.
No.
Obviously, he's qualified, but is he still the best? Who knows?
Was there a lockdown if you were in the Finnish army, or did you? Nicholas Grant did that, by the way. He did his service as well. They all have to do it. If you're Finnish, you have to do. I think it's a year of national service. I'm not sure, but yeah, Nicholas did that, and at that point you kind of take a break in your career if you're a driver and have to go off and do it. Una had actually got special permission to come to the Autosport show for the final. And so we said, at least you're going home to your regiment, you know, with a world championship. You don't want to take the weekend off and go back to a regiment without a world championship. So we're going to take a look back at some of the highlights from the Xbox before we get stuck into Steam PC for the final session. Let's have a look back at some of the rally from Xbox earlier today. Xbox and PS4 done and dusted. We're just waiting on one player in the Steam room. Steam room, that's, well, you know, that's something completely different. But it's a lobby. We're waiting for somebody in a lobby. So a lobby basically is a waiting area in which you go into ahead of the game and we get you loaded up. Everybody then waits to go into the service area where they get a set amount of time and they can tweak their settings on their car, get everything right, and make sure their head is fully in the game and ready to go. So if they don't turn up on time, then we will chuck them out, basically. That's one of the rules. So the same actually applies during the qualifying. So if you were top two and we tried to get in touch with you and you didn't come back to us via the contact details which you gave in game, then unfortunately it's given to the next person down. We did actually have that occur a couple of times last year and again this year. So, John, it's important to be on time in rallying, isn't it? In both time controls, but also in the lobby. If they don't turn up, we're going to give them the heave-ho.
Yeah, it's a bit like following real-life rules in that respect, isn't it? If you're late to a stage in real life, you get time penalties added on top of your overall time. So, yeah, if you don't turn up for your lobby on esports, you probably get kicked out as well. So, yeah, it's a fair punishment, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. We are still waiting, finding out if we've got 6 drivers or not. Race Control are going to let us know on that in a moment. In this one, we've got Lucas Mateja, Robin Borgström, Una Pankinen, Ray Cobbing, Maxime Wagenaar, and Dimitri Bascu. So French, Czech, Swedish, Finnish, British and Dutch. We're going full nationalities on the PC platform. PC traditionally has been super competitive. I'll tell you what, if they're as close as they were on PS4, I'll be really surprised.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine it being as close as that, but it probably will be. You know, PC is historically the most competitive platform for esports. So, yeah, we'll see. I'll be interested to see if the times are actually quicker again, because we had quite a jump between Xbox and PlayStation 4. So we'll see if the PC guys can go quicker again.
Indeed. So we're hearing, unfortunately, I believe it's Robin Borgström. Is that correct, Race Control? So Robin Borgström, we think, hasn't turned up on time in the lobby. So I'm afraid Robin, I think, is not going to be on the start line for stage 1, which is a great shame. It could be technical issues on his part. You know, we're not saying he hasn't showed up. We've had technical issues before where people have dropped out, and that's a part of esports just as it is a part of real motorsport. So if there've been technical issues, which means he hasn't made the line, that's a real shame. But we are pretty much ready to go, I believe, with Steam. One driver still in the service park. What is he doing, John?
Potentially getting the perfect setup.
Clickety-click.
Putting it into party mode.
Party mode, yeah. Party mode for Rallycross all the way. If you know, you know. There you go, you see. How many tyres can you save for the semi-finals? Did you watch last weekend? If you didn't watch last weekend, you're not welcome here, I'm afraid. You need to. Well, okay, it's okay for the rally side if you didn't watch the Rallycross last weekend. I am offended, but we'll let you off. Maybe you can watch later on today. John's been watching. John knew to watch. If he's coming here working with me this weekend, he knew he'd get quizzed. hardcore quiz, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm always watching, always following you.
We're hoping to get John in. He's done some buggy racing. We're hoping to get him in a proper rallycross car at some point as well. Turn him from the dark side, from rally across to rallycross world. One of my favourite things about both disciplines is the fact that we see drivers cross over between the likes of Ekstrom, Christopherson, Solberg, Loeb. Yeah, lots of our top drivers from both the WRC and the World Rallycross Championship have crossed over between the two. Now, have we got 6 drivers? Looks like we've got the 5. And we are with Joona Pankkonen. Joona P, the world champion in Dirt Rally 2.0. Prior to that, the world champion in Dirt Rally 4. Backing it in. He's early on the throttle everywhere. Absolutely bang on the money right now. It's not looking like he's far in front, but John, this is about a whole stage, not just a couple of corners. But I have to say, I couldn't fault either of the first 3 corners there for Joona.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just bunched up at the moment. We're going to see that gap start to separate now throughout the stage, but it's been a bit of a slow start for Joona, to be honest. He's sitting in 4th, up to 3rd now, but
just close, isn't it, between them? This is now down into the 3 right times to 2, so as you come in, you've got to keep it close on the bank from the outside. Now that's this. I know I'm going to get slated for this, but I play chase cam with a controller. I prefer on board with a wheel, but it's kind of, it just goes back to the old Colin McRae days. It's a habit that I've got to beat. I need to get a wheel sorted so I can beat it, and then I promise I won't be as rubbish and I'll play. But when you play chase cam, a tightening corner like that through the trees is a nightmare, and actually that's why, if you want the full experience, you should be playing on board. A lot of when we see our onboard cameras, we use what I would call bonnet cam. What do you play with?
So I'm split between using a monitor, which these guys are probably doing, and using VR.
Yeah,
I love VR because
yeah.
it's like you're sat in the actual rally car. You can look to your apex, look out the side window when you're going sideways.
It makes a huge different sighting corners on the way in.
100%. You can pick your sort of apex much easier.
Yeah, looking through the corner. So I have a friend who I've played at his on the old version of Dirt Rally using VR, and it was fantastic. Now I used to struggle on that game. I just found it really hard. I mean, it is hardcore sim, they both are. But stuck the VR on, and it all felt so. I felt like I was in the car. You know, backing it in, left foot on the brake. It was just mega.
It's proper immersive, and I think it just gets your adrenaline going that bit more. It actually feels like if you're going to fall off this cliff, you might not get back.
Yeah, totally. I'm afraid you could lose even more hours or almost cutting to the inside. Dimitri Bascu. These guys, as you can see, top right of your screen, are using real names, and that's a feature, isn't it, of Steam, where you can choose to show your real name or your username. John, you know my opinion on real names.
It's quite nice, isn't it, being able to see their normal names?
Exactly.
But, yeah, we're seeing Joona Pankkonen out in front now, and Lucas Fantasia in 2nd, and that's who I expected to be at the top, to be honest.
Ray Cobbing in P3 is not far behind. We were riding on board with Joona P on the super committee section through there. I tried that yesterday, ended up with terminal damage in the fence at 108.9 miles per hour. Not ideal is how I describe that, but it's that jump. And again, there are times in the game where you see, you hear the note big jump, you go through the up, well, I didn't big jump, and that's always a bit of a giveaway to me that I'm not trying hard enough and that there must be another line. Since 6th gear through there, it's almost 2 crests.
Well, that's it, yeah, that's a big jump, but it depends what car you're in. You know, if you're in a Mini Cooper, it's probably not going to get off the ground at all.
I don't use the Mini Cooper. It's, I don't go historic that much. Well, unless you call a 306 Maxi historic.
What about the 205?
You used it much. Do I need to get amongst the 205?
What was your first rally car? 106?
206. Well, no, so Vauxhall Nova was the first one, then a Saturday, but then
same as me.
Is it?
When's Vauxhall Nova?
Yes, see?
That's a big cut.
Massive cut. Joona Pankkonen on board with the world champion, about to take the stage, win on the first stage. How far back is Lucas Fantasia? He's right there, and Cobbing as well. Those guys are within half a second, I reckon. Dimitri Bascu about to cross the line and finish the top 5, and there it is, 340.3, 340.7, 341.1 for the top 3. 0.8 of a second in it in the end. There is absolutely nothing to separate them. And to be fair, Maxime Wagenaar, who was in P4, look, 41.7, is only 1.4 off the back. So Dimitri Bascu a little way further back. And of course, unfortunately, Robin Bergström, our Swedish driver, didn't make it to the lobby in time for the first of the stages for the PC section of the quarter-finals. Pankkonen, what's the time like?
Not quickest.
Oh.
1 second slower than the fastest on PS4.
Okay. So PS4, who was the leader on PS4? Yeah,
I'm not good. I'm not good.
That's all right. It's Tiana Rakitanaivo. There we go. So that's what I'm going with for now.
I can go with Eric's 1770.
Yeah, so you're going with the username
yeah.
for that. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, at the minute then, so our Omani driver, the fastest driver through that first stage in the 2:08. So that was with the PS4. So fantastic, but so close again on Steam, super close. And they're all within a second of those PS4 times. They're all within 1.4 seconds of each other. So it is so close between the top drivers on this platform. Traditionally, this has been where the super quick guys have come from, and I wonder sometimes if when they then go to the final and they're playing on PC again, if there's an element of comfort there. But then they're also then in an arena and they're all using steering wheels, pedals, seats, and a setup which is the same for everyone.
There's a lot to be said about using the same setup as what you use in the comfort of your home in the final, and that's something I had to my advantage in 2018, was using the exact same Thrustmaster equipment that I use in the comfort of my home. So yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult if you're using something else and come to the final. It's all completely different. You have to fine tune the settings and find what feels good to you. But yeah, there's a lot of time to be made just in fine-tuning your actual wheel settings. You know, how much degrees of rotation are you going to use. I know these guys are probably using maybe 360 or less, so you know, a full lock from side to side could be just that, which is great because
for feel. Why?
Basically you can do everything quicker if you imagine an F1 car.
Sure.
But it's going to be a lot more sensitive. You know, a little movement like that there, you might spin the car just by doing that.
So it's the equivalent of fitting the car with a quick rack, but one that was so ludicrously quick you wouldn't be able to turn the wheel, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I like to go a little bit higher just so I can move around a bit more freely like I do in real life.
I was going to say, that to me feels more like real life. I always think, you think to yourself that you watch an onboard on gravel and you think you're holding the wheel straight, and actually it's like this the whole way down the straight. Just tiny little, I always call it play bus steering. That's a reference for people who are as old as me. The start of the play bus, always used to, the dude's doing this and the bus is going straight down the road, but that's pretty much what it's like in a rally car.
Yeah, 100%, especially on gravel. On tarmac, you have a bit more precision from the steering, but
depends if it's Irish tarmac.
That's it. Yeah. It could be a lot of mud and gravel on the road. It's not really a tarmac event at times, but it's Irish tarmac's fabulous though. It's some of the best roads in the world, I think.
Yeah, definitely. WRC event, of course, was held over in Ireland as well. We had,
2007 and 2009.
Did you go and watch that?
Yeah,
How old were you?
I would have been maybe 11 or 12.
Damn you. Okay. Evo 6 on the start line. There is just a little bit of drizzle. I love the graphics. I know we bang on about it, but look at that off the coast. It's so reminiscent of rallying. I was big gutted not to see it this year in the World Championship thanks to COVID. WRC didn't make it out there, but there we go. Next year, hopefully. I think next year, hopefully, for a lot of things, isn't it? Hope you're all doing okay at home and enjoying being in the 10x3. That's something which has happened a lot this year. We're on board with UNIP, the leader after stage 1, and at the moment looking like a clear leader in the Evo 6. Matasia on very similar pace. You can see when they're turning into the corner between them. Big cut there, look.
That was a proper send, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is Matasia. Is this the one left don't cut? Or is that, not sure, maybe. I think that was. John, you know, you
I think that was it, yeah, that was it indeed. And now they're up to sort of a hairpin right. Really backing it in, aren't they? They're chucking it in and then using all of the torque to pull the car around the corner again.
Matasia is as quick as Pankinen here, if not slightly faster. Big cut off to the right-hand side. We're now with Maxime Wagonar, who took the same cut as well. Ray Popkovic holding on to P3. Dimitri Vascu on the pace of these guys in the four-drive car. We've seen bigger differences between the drivers in the rear-wheel drive than anything else. So that's the thing, really. I think with the Mark II Escort coming last, you really can't write anybody off. Yeah,
I know that Unit Pankinen is really good in the rear-wheel drive cars. Yeah, so I'm not sure on how quick Lucas is. A bit of a mistake there.
Dimitri Vascu. So there's wall riding where there's cheating, which we're not allowing. There's wall riding where you've just run a bit wide, and that's just running a bit wide.
Just trying a little bit too much, but yeah, he's down at fifth place at the moment, probably just trying to push and get those seconds, but it's usually counterproductive when you're pushing over your limit.
Clip the wall just on the outside there, you can see.
There's a bit of a cut coming there. That's it.
There it is.
I was like, it's coming up.
Unip taking all that cut, backing it off, flames through the exhaust, chucks it from right to left. So did you ever get to see the Evo 6 in real life with Macklin and Co?
I've never seen it in the WRC.
Yes, to being old.
I mean, yeah, the 90s is some of the best eras for rallying, I think.
Yeah,
100%.
just epic. I was very lucky to go. I'm trying to think when I was at Rally GB, probably 94, 95, 96, like absolute pinnacle for me. We went, what year was it? F2 year. It was a year where it was rotated out the World Championship in F2. Either 94, 96, can't remember. Terrible, isn't it? Maxime Wagonar off the back of this group. If you look at the left-hand side with Dimitri Bascu, the top three super close together.
Up to the slightly famous junction. Back, that's a proper back in.
Matasia fully lit on the way in. That's proper backing it in. Pankinen on board now. Matasia just the tiniest margin back. They are so. There's on Killian Delormeau now. With Killian, that was down bottom right screen. That looked like Una Pankinen to me. Yeah, so that was Una. It was Una. So name strapping credit. Apologies for that. But Una was still with the army haircut.
He must be still serving at the moment.
He's still in the army now. So Una P. Super calm. Is he in the barracks? That's what I want to know. What was in the background? Big cut. I mean, I'll tell you what I just noticed as well. Una Pankinen is running army-style colours on the Evo 6. He's running the camo green. So we think he's still in his finish. National service so close to the fence on the left-hand side. Matasia and him absolutely swapping hundreds here as they're in the final sector. Who's your money on, John?
It's just neck and neck at the moment. It could be anyone's for the stage, but there was such a small margin on the first stage between these two as well, so it's going to come all down to the Mark II Escort, I think.
Oh, runs it right out to the back. Matasia now leading Pankinen. On board with Lucas Matasia, Una Pankinen absolutely side by side in terms of tenths and hundredths. There's another junction to come here. Matasia backs it in again perfectly, so close to the fence. Lucas Matasia seems to have taken a hand on this stage. How close is Pankinen coming through to cross over the finish line? Matasia's going to take it, I think, from Una Pankinen. No, look, maybe Pankinen, hard to see. Bobbing crosses the line. To wait for the final leaderboard to be able to bring in the times. Dimitri Bascu finishes, and then Maxime Wagonar rounding out your top fives. Matasia did take it by 0.2 of a second. Unbelievably close between Lucas Matasia and Una Pankinen. Ray Cobbing 3 seconds back. Was it not quite 3 seconds back? That maybe gives Matasia and Pankinen just a tiny bit of breathing space jumping into the rear-wheel drives. Dimitri Bascu 7 seconds off, and Maxime Wagonar 8 seconds. Still brilliant performances by those drivers, but advantage Matasia and Pankinen. You're going to want to go through, aren't you, as the big dog in this? But yeah, I mean that's close between those. The thing is, I'm wondering what's going to happen in the later qualifying stages. So this is only the first set of quarterfinals. We're seeing the big names. You know, I'm recognising these guys. I started with esports a couple of years ago from Real Motorsport. I think most of you know that. And so for me, the esports names were not so familiar at first, but I'm seeing familiar names constantly at the top of the timing. And this is only quarterfinal number 1, but to me, this is closer than it's been in previous years. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I think they're pretty much neck and neck now going into the last stage with the rear-wheel drive Mark II. So I don't know who's going to take it, but yeah, amazing racing. And as you say, it's the same guys that are at the top of the list every time, and it's not by luck. It's just because they're the best in the business. And you know, there's lots of people in the world that are quite good. You know, they're in the top 90%, but these guys are the final 1% in the world.
Are they going to be the people who will make it through to the semis and the final? Of course, if they all qualified this time, they won't have the chance to do the quarterfinals again. Should any of them not make it, as we saw, Quinton Delormeau didn't quite make it on the PS4, missed it by 2.4 seconds. In theory, can qualify again through the quarterfinals and have another crack at it in the semi-finals in about a month's time. I think it is. I think it's about 4 weeks before we do another semi-final. So there are more chances to come, but we are seeing here the best of the best. I mean, I reckon most of these guys have banked a place in the quarters early because they're not going to want to wait, are they? They're not going to wait until week 9 and have a crack at it then. They're going to go now, and if they don't make it, they're going to go again and again. So familiar names, I suppose maybe we might see some newer people come through later if these guys go through now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you want to get through as early as you can, and then it gives you a bit of, you can relax, you can focus on the next stage of the competition, and maybe even start to focus on the final. You want to keep thinking ahead, and it'll allow the guys just to practice a little bit more on their further stages then.
Yeah, okay. Well, practice they're going to have to if they want to be world champion, because UNP is on it. And we're waiting on one driver, Lucas Mateja. Also, Mateja, CR said Mickey is his username, if you're familiar with that. And UNP is Pankinen's username. Those guys, so quick. We saw Mateja was quick earlier on this year in the World RX series as well. So names to look out for, definitely names to look out for right now as we go into the final stage from the first quarter-finals for Dirt Rally 2.0 World Series. It's Joona Pankkinen versus Lucas Mateja. Those two for the win, but also to try to make it through to the semi-final stages. Ray Cobbing, I think, was in P3, and it's close for him as well. John, you can't leave anything here. You've got to put it all on the line.
100%. They're just going to have to push as fast as they can. They'll all know the stage inside out, like the back of their hand, so it's just trying to put that into practice, do the perfect stage and nail it.
So something I've spoken to you about before when we've been talking about ideas for if we get any more titles from Codemasters. I know we've got Dirt 5 coming out later this year, but I would love to see a fastest first feature on new stages, as in the fastest time on someone's first ever attempt at the stage, because what the guys do when they learn the stages, it's cool, isn't it? But also I kind of want to see, that's where I enjoyed the stage builder as well. What was that? Was that Dirt 4 stage builder?
Dirt 4 had a procedural stage generator, yeah.
Yeah, so you could generate random stages, and then it can't learn the stage. Now I know people prefer stages they know, but there's a bit for me that also likes to see stages that you don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, and the ultimate dream is to bring rally esports to a phase where the guys don't know the stages that they're coming into, and they have to rely on actual pace notes. Imagine how cool it would be if they could have a stage they didn't know and they had an actual co-driver with them, so it'd be like a two-man sport.
But it would be brilliant, but then you could also, this is what I've been saying about using real-life spotters, and I know Wesley Wiggins, WW, has been using a real-life spotter. We know as well that the World RX drivers have been doing that in esports because you can't see what's going on around the rest of the circuit. So if you bought into this, you know what it's like. We all play this game, you and Phil write the notes. Sometimes I have a big shot and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have had that note there, because it's like you were saying also, it's to the cars. You're right, once it a note to the stage, you could get to the point where these guys will be writing different notes for different cars and different stages. It's getting pretty hardcore. If you're putting in 8 hours a day, I'd argue you're already on the border of hardcore.
Yeah, 100%, and you'd ideally like more and more stages, but the guys in Codemasters have put in so much effort to make these really detailed, beautiful looking locations and stages.
Yeah.
And it just takes a lot of man hours to do that. I think you're probably looking at 3 or 4 months to make one location. So it's a lot of effort, and we'd obviously have more stages if we could, but it's just...
I'm sure it would cut. I like that there, mid-corner flip of what car we were with. Mateja and Pankkinen are trading tenths. We're trading their paint schemes live on your screens. So close between them. Pankkinen backing it in there. Absolutely howling it through this section. Look at that big chuck, and that's super confident, John, to be able to proper Scandinavian flick, and in fact carrying a board from the side of the road on the bonnet there.
Through the cattle grid. This is a really tricky section. There's this left-hander, you can't cut it. You see that he avoided it because there's a big raise in the inside of the ground. You hit that, it bottoms the car out and it throws you into the wall on the outside.
I love the fact you know these so well. I'm really enjoying the Scottish stages, I have to say. Really enjoying those. They were late to the game, weren't they, with the Colin McRae content. If you've not got the Scottish stages, you need to get those downloaded. At first, you think, I don't know how quick they are. They are seriously quick once you get committed in them.
They're as quick as any stage we have in the game, I think, and there's so many things beside the road that can catch you out. You've got log piles, you've got big drops, big trees.
I hate the log piles. The log piles get me every time. Is anything going to catch Mateja out? It seems that Lucas Mateja has got a little bit of a grip on this over Joona Pankkinen, but Pankkinen Ray Cobbing is in the mix as well. You can see top left of your screen. Those three drivers are super close together. Cobbing, I think, would need to win this by some margin to be able to take Matasia or Pankinen. They should be booking themselves a slot in the semi-finals if they make it through to the end of the stage. And that is, when you're backing it in like that, that is by no means a foregone conclusion. Trying super hard. Couple to go. Thread in the eye of the needle. Close in on the side. Matasia's over the line. Pankinen too. Incredibly close between them. Dimitri Bascu coming up running the Cossack livery to finish off the stage for us. Oh, binned it right at the end.
Over the finish line, binned it.
That's fine. He made it over the finish line. All bets are off at that point. So 4:17.9 for Lucas Matasia, 1.1 seconds quicker than Una Pankinen. I think that's going to see Matasia win this section on PC. I can see John is adding up over the other side of the studio. Ray Cobbing, 9/10 of a second off the back of Pankinen. And then Maxime Wagenaar was only, to be fair, was only 1.5 off the back of Cobbing. Dimitri Bascu just 9 seconds further back down the road. Have you been frantically adding up?
Not for this overall bit, but I've worked out that that was quicker than the quickest time through that stage on the other platforms.
Okay.
And I think that should leave PC fastest overall time.
Okay, so we thought PS4, didn't we, on the previous stages, but it looks like PC's made it all up on that last bit. The confidence of Pankinen watching through there, and obviously Matasia, because Matasia's even quicker. The confidence of them through the section, backing it in. I say, for me, I often end up too sideways on the throttle. We've already discussed the fact I need to get a wheel sorted for that. But they're so confident.
Yeah, that's it. You need total confidence, and it's just practice makes perfect. These guys are putting in the hours, and they know they can get away with chucking the car in like that. And what they can do to sort of minimize the risk of spinning out is maybe go through the corner in a higher gear, so you're minimizing that wheel spin in the rear-wheel drive car, so you're not going to spin out, which you do.
Yeah, so that's what I need to do. I need it to be a gear up.
Yeah, you could try that, see if it helps.
Yeah, I'm too used to the 306 Maxi, see.
It's just the front understeer now.
I love the 306 Maxi. The trouble is I even use it on gravel, which is rubbish, isn't it? It's not rubbish, but it's still great. But like, there's something I love about those cars.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I don't think the 306 Maxi done that many off-road rallies. It was all tarmac, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very much a tarmac. There was a brilliant video that was on Instagram the other day, which was it was Pierre Liarty fighting with Francois Delacour. Liarty was in the Impreza. What year was it? I think it was it 99? And then you had Delacour in the 306 and McRae leading in the what a legend, leading in the Impreza. Yeah, great times, man.
Is Delacour your favourite 306 driver, or is it Panizzi?
I like them both. I remember the interviews with Panizzi. There was Panizzi over a jump, and he didn't speak any English, so he just like over the jump. When it did a thing like this, which was his impression of going over a jump, which was great. But I loved the fact that it wasn't the headline category, and they were killing the headline category. And of course, that's probably why in the end F2 got killed, because you can't beat the WRC cars in one of the support acts. But it was great. It was only ever on tarmac that they could get near it, and dry tarmac too. But yeah, some great hero stories. Right, who's the hero from Steam? Here we go. Who is the top qualifier? It is Lucas Matasia by 7/10 of a second from Una Pankinen. The current Dirt Rally 2.0 world champion has booked a spot through in the semi-finals. Ray Cobbing just 4 seconds behind them. A brilliant performance by Ray. Impressive, really impressive from the British driver. And I hope we'll see Ray come back for another crack at it, because Maxime Wagenaar, Dimitri Bascu, and of course Robin Borgstrom, unfortunately a no-show today, or at least a non-starter. But Cobbing definitely with the pace to make it through, and he'll be pleased that Matasia and Pankinen are gone, because with further opportunities later down the line might be able to book a spot. But 7/10 of a second in it between Matasia and Pankinen. I don't think Pankinen's going to be too upset about that. There is a kind of bragging rights confidence thing of wanting to go through as the number one, but it doesn't matter. You've just got to make it, haven't you?
100%. He's probably not that worried. Maybe the perfectionist in him wants to win it, and yeah, it's like you said, it's bragging rights, but he's still through to the next phase of the competition. And Lucas Matasia has been doing a lot of driving this year compared to Una P.
Yeah, good point.
So we're maybe seeing that reversal in who's the best.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. So we've got our qualifiers from our first set of quarter-finals. 6 drivers going through. Let's take a look. Lucas Matasia and Una Pankinen, who just booked their slots a moment ago from PC. From PS4, we've got Tiana Rakatanaivo and we've got Robin Jonsson. Jonsson, the runner-up last year. So we've got our top 2 through from the World Championship. And then earlier on this afternoon, Jared Pesh and Karin Oja, the Estonian, making it through from Xbox. Sorry. So yeah, so that's our six drivers going through from today's quarterfinals for Rally. We've got more quarterfinals for you later on today. So quarterfinals for FIA World RX. And you're going to see the Del Olmos in there. We've got our world champion coming back, Kilian Del Olmo, looking to book his spot. Can he go through like Una P has as well? That is at 6 p.m. British summer time. That's 7 p.m. Central European time. Look it up if not. Thank you very much, John Armstrong. I'm Andrew Coley, and we will see you shortly for some rallycross action.